Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. All right, folks, here we are on Sunday, March 9th. We're going to take a look at RGTI today. So RGTI is starting to push back a little bit. I don't know that it'll have the oomph that it once had, especially since the overall market is getting pretty dicey and appears as though it may stay that way for a while. But RGTI, obviously it had this huge gap down. This day it dropped over 45%. It's only had a partial fill back to that. If it comes back up and continues to fill that gap and does so completely, it would reach a high up to 1755. So a lot of upside there if you believe it can fill this gap in the relatively near future. Now, what caught my eye here was you see this bottom here, and then the bottom here, and now we're the bottom here. And it feels like it's once again been scooped up in this range from like mid to low sixes, say even dip down here, toward this 592 that I had that was sort of an extension to the downside of the chart where I felt like, there'd been all this previous buying back here, it held up here. And for the time being, at least, it didn't need to come back down, but it's in that whole range of like the 6 to 7 range, which sounds like a lot, and it is. But with the stock this volatile, it can move. You can move that space over the course of a trading day, or what have you. Now that it's done that again, and it's putting in this nice curl, so I am curious to see if it can put something together here. It's sort of moving through the levels quite nicely as well. You see it's bouncing right off of a level, hitting resistance right at the next level, and just moving off these like very much as you would anticipate, right? Exactly how you would want it to. So if it continues to climb through, the levels that I have here, now the yellow levels are sort of our down levels, right, from this initial push here, this initial push and pullback. The green levels are extended levels from then this push and pullback. So that's why there's so many. But knowing that it can move like crazy, I'm inclined to just leave them on for the time being. So it finished off Friday at 935. We have 941 here as an immediate level to overcome. 1024, 1106. So a lot of space. Again, it looks cluttered, but there is a lot of percentage space in between these levels. So if you see strong moves, maybe there's opportunities here. You don't have to marry a stock. You can get in, get out. You can try to play it from level to level. Whatever you feel good about. But it's doing a good job moving from level to level. Confirming support off of a level, confirming it at open, running right to the next level. So will we continue to see that as we get into this coming week? I don't know, but I think a lot will depend on how how bearish the overall market wants to be. But RGTI, at least for the last few days, flying in the face of that anyway, right? So it hasn't necessarily followed the market to a T, and has been showing signs of being able to be its own stock, which is sometimes in periods like this the best that you can hope for, right? That it's just moving of its own volition and it doesn't seem totally tied to whatever's happening with SPY, NASDAQ, etc., etc. Now, if we zap these guys off for now, you can always snapshot this or pause it and come back and capture those levels if they're really important to you. EMAs wise, here's what else is interesting. Came within range of the 183 EMA. I preach about that all the time. I think that that's a really significant level. So it came, a bit shy of it, but again, with a stock with this volatility, you have to give these levels a little bit of space because it moves so erratically. And so, but it is just putting in such a nice curl here. It's so easy to see. Again, it might fail, and if it were to fail, it's coming up to these levels, the 21 EMA right here, and then the 34 in red. What you look for is something like this, basically, where it comes in and just rejects off of those, and then slips back below the white 8 again, right? So if we see that, then we might end up seeing a test of the 183. But that's why I thought it was additionally sort of interesting. It has this nice looking pattern, nice looking motion, and then if it is going to reject, right? So if you're going to take the risk and get in and you're going to do the smartest thing you can do, which is stick to your exit plan, even if that means taking a loss, you're going to know really quickly if it's going to reject off of this 21 and 34 or if it's going to move through them. Now, if it moves through them, then you have the potential in a stock that's already in bullish territory because it's above the 183. You have the potential for the 8 to cross over the 21 and to cross over the 34 and to then start throwing all these bullish crossovers like we saw back here, right? These short-term EMAs crossing over and lining up from the shortest on top to the most lengthy at the bottom. Then you're in full bullish motion. So, you know, again, it feels to me like it will tell where it's going pretty quickly here. It'll either reject off of them and come down toward this 183, or it'll start throwing motion to get those bullish crossovers in effect. And then who knows, maybe there's another run that comes. But first things first, it has to make the motion through there, right? That's going to be plenty of work for it to do in the meantime. Now, think or swim side of things, we have this pretty lengthy trigger and fire here. It came down, you know, pretty solid motion. That might be the extent of that. But now we might see sort of on the recoil, which we do encounter quite often, the move and then the counter move. And sometimes the trigger and fire ends up capturing a full like big move down and then an equal but opposite big move back up, or vice versa. Now, the other interesting thing here is it's right at the call trigger for March. So if it's able to get some motion here over the call trigger, that's situated at 925. Right, it's right there. And it has a +1 ATR for March of 1180. Now, it may not get there. The other thing is it may go through there. It might go to it, might go through it. But it at least gives you some levels to look for and see how it's making motion in these areas. But this is what you'd want to see. It came in at the put trigger for March, which is just where it ends up, right? So it's sort of playing the hand that it's dealt, if you will, and it moved right off of that and moved pretty swiftly from the from the put trigger to the call trigger. And again, if there's an opportunity, this is sort of what it looks like. Doesn't mean it's a 100% thing, doesn't mean it's a slam dunk, but it looks like it has some opportunity there. Now, if things do just completely fall apart, whether it's particular to RGTI or RGTI just gives in to the weight of the overall dumping of the market, put trigger 767 minus 1 ATR 512. So, you know, that would basically get us well through the levels that we have on here. And that 592 would have to give way at that point. It has, like I said, the buyers have stepped in and picked up all along. The challenging thing there is if it doesn't make a move now, I do wonder if it comes back down basically for like a fourth time into that level, maybe even a fifth time if you count this. I do wonder if the buyers are still there, right? If they keep getting into a situation where we buy it at this level and it runs up a little bit and I'm still holding on because I'm waiting for a bigger run, and then we're just back down here at this level. So I buy it again and it runs back up a little bit and then it dumps back down to me again into my buy level, right? At what point are the buyers just not there anymore? So again, another sort of a hopium reason why if you're a bull RGTI, you might want this this time to be the move and it doesn't need to come back down and test if the buyers are still there between that $6 and $7 range or if they have gone away. All right, folks, so I hope that you've had a nice weekend. You have a good trading week ahead. And as always, I appreciate you watching and I will see you in the next video.